We have one of the coolest hubs for your Mac. Let me show you. Welcome back to the channel. So today we have a super fun product I want to introduce to you, and it's not only fun, it's super functional as well, and it's from a company called Wokyis, but I probably butchered the name there, so let me have them introduce themselves.
Hello, I'm Mackintosh.
Hello, I'm Wokyis.
Now this takes us back to a time in 1984. Do you remember the Mackintosh 128K computer? This is actually what this is based on, and that was a great time. Remember 1984? I think that was my favorite computer I was using at the time. I actually used the Atari 800, and then this came out and changed the world. But the A-Team was on, Miami Vice was on. It was just a simpler time, and now we have this iconic little symbol here we can put on our desk. And this isn't just a hub, believe it or not. It's actually a hub, but it has a full working screen on here, a 5-inch screen, which we're going to talk about, and there's a ton of uses for it that make it fun. All right, just a quick note here as well. I have the 10 gigabit per second version of the hub right here. That means there's a 10 gigabit per second SSD enclosure in the back of it. They're also coming out with an 80 gigabit per second Thunderbolt 5 version of this hub as well, with a couple different ports and stuff, and I'll showcase it at the end of it. But I'll have links in my video again to the Kickstarter page. You can check all this information out, as well as pricing and stuff at the end of this video, so stay tuned for that. I'm going to showcase the pricing, the early bird specials, and all that stuff. So without further ado, let's get into the rest of the video. Okay, so let's take a step back and just take a look at this for a second on my desk over here. I'll show you some close-ups of it. It's a great conversation piece on a desk or something. People that love the iconic Mackintosh 128K from 1984, you got to get one of these for them for a gift and stuff. It just looks great on the desk, right? And compared to the original, which I'll show you in a picture right here, mine doesn't even have a screen, right? These things are so hard to get working right now from 1984. You might as well just buy this thing, put it on your desk, and you still get that look and feel that makes you happy, you know, from those kind of times that have passed by. And I think that's what this is all about, really. But it's got that functional hub in here as well, so it makes it really functional overall when you start looking at all the different ports as well. Okay, so as you guessed, this hub will slide right over your M4 or M4 Pro Mac Mini, but it can also connect to other M series Macs, you know, through the same kind of USB-C connection. And also it's got an HDMI port in here as well. So let's say you want to just have a different computer connected to this to kind of get the screen to work, and you don't even want it basically for a hub. You just want it to kind of be more of a conversation piece. You can have it right on your desk there. You can do that as well with the HDMI port. So overall, it's just a great idea overall if you don't want to take up another screen, obviously, for your main Mac. But I connect it right to my Mac Mini. I use a screen a whole bunch of different ways. It's super useful, which I'm going to show you. So I recommend doing that. But if you don't have an M4 Pro Mac Mini, let's say you have a MacBook Air or something, you can still use this. So the build quality of the hub is really good. It comes with that same kind of yellow retro plastic that you see on some of the older Macs. It looks exactly like it, which is really cool. It's also got air vents kind of cut out throughout it. So if you do put your Mac underneath this, it'll have some vents for airflow and stuff that to get in there. Now this is actually going to just be passive cooled. It's not going to have any active fans in it or anything like that. Just keep that in mind. But it is made out of a good plastic and some metal in here as well. On the back of it where the SSD goes in, I have the 10 gigabit version, but again, keep in mind that they make the 80 gigabit version as well. But in here, it's got a kind of a door that's magnetic. It kind of attaches via a magnet. That door is made out of a really thick metal, and I think what you're going to do is you're going to put the thermal pad, which they give you. I'll show you a picture of that. But you put that on the SSD, and it'll actually move a lot of the heat back to this kind of metal thermal plate back here, and it kind of keeps it away from the Mac. It works really well. Now, it does get hot, this plate back here, but it doesn't get the heat, doesn't move the heat to your computer, which is actually really good. So overall, I like the design of it, and you can't complain there. Now, before we get into the ports, though, the best thing about this is going to be that 5-inch screen. It's actually, they say it's an HD screen. It's 1280 by 720 resolution on this little tiny screen, and you can put a whole bunch of different things in here. So when you first attach it, you have to go into your display settings on your Mac and make sure that this is the second screen here, and you keep your big screen as the main screen. When I first did it, I made this the main screen, and then you got to kind of squint and then change it back in the settings. So just make sure you make this as the secondary screen, and you make your big screen or your main Mac screen or whatever screen you have as your main screen is the main one. Then you can go ahead and drag anything from your main screen onto this little screen over here. You just drag and drop it right on like this, and if you can think of any applications that can go on here, you'd be surprised what you can do. Okay, number one, how about playing some games on here? Take a look at my screen. I'm going to show you some games that I'm playing. So you can just go ahead and any game, even Apple Arcade that's on your main system, you can go ahead and drag it on this little screen over here. Maybe you have an emulator on your Mac. You can go ahead and drag those games, play them right on this little screen over here. Super fun, super addicting, and again, a great conversation piece. As people come by, they're like, how in the world did you do that? Number two, I think it's actually great for watching YouTube content. So imagine you're doing work up here, don't tell your boss, but you want to go ahead and work, but you want a little smaller screen for YouTube content. Go ahead and open up a browser, drag it right over to this little screen over here, and open it up full screen, and it works perfectly. Take a look at it. The screen's actually really sharp for what it is. Obviously, from angles and stuff, it might get a little bit, it might fade out a little bit, but it's still a pretty good screen for being this small. I actually like it. I'm going to show you some examples as we're talking about it, but I can't complain with it. And obviously, I'm not thinking, oh, this is a terrible screen. It shows up well enough, and it's big enough to watch like a YouTube channel or something like that. And then definitely beyond that, you can go ahead and put something like Pluto TV on here as well. Maybe you want more live TV, or maybe Comcast, you have live streaming. So you can use this as like a little mini TV if you want to, right next to on your desk as you're working. But again, don't tell your boss. Okay, a couple other ways to use it. What about streaming music on here? So open up your streaming app, go ahead and slide it over to this screen over here, open it up full screen, and there you go. You can actually listen to all your music, change kind of your tracks and stuff on this. It looks beautiful, right? Take a look at that. I'm showing you some examples. I love using it for that. That's a great reason. Another big reason for this, maybe you want a slideshow, maybe you have a whole bunch of pictures for your family and stuff like that, and you want them on your desk instead of getting one of those little frames. And this is not even that expensive. We're going to get into that in a second. Maybe you want one of those little digital frames. Just get this instead. It looks way better, and you can use it for so many other reasons instead of just that. So just think about it. You can drag any app onto the screen, or you can move any kind of browser window into the screen. So maybe you want to have the weather up there. You can go ahead and have the weather up there as you're kind of working in the time and stuff like that, time or weather. You can put widgets up there. So any widgets you have on your main screen, just drag them over to this little screen over here. You can have widgets on there as well. You can even show your YouTube stats. You can go to a website, where it shows that, and then go ahead and just throw it on the screen over here, and you can have your subscribers. Please help me get to 100K one day. I want to get that little trophy up on the wall. Anyways, besides the point. Anyways, you can do that as well. The possibilities are basically endless on this thing. And if you guys can think of anything, hear me out for a second. If you can think of any of the reasons that this would be perfect for, post in the comments. I want to hear a whole bunch of ideas. And then maybe I'll make another video on these kind of ideas that people come up with. Think of it. What would be good on a little screen like this? And what would make it super useful that I didn't cover here? And then I'll go ahead and maybe make a video on it if they're good enough. So while the screen is great, this is not only just a screen, it's a fully functioning hub, and it works really well. So let me go through the ports on this right now. So up here in the front, well, first of all, this little icon that looks like a little sticker here with the colors, that's actually an on and off button for the screen. I'll show you some pictures of that. And so you can turn the screen on and off, but leave the hub on. And then back over here, you have two USB-A 10 gigabit per second, and then we have an SD card and a micro SD card reader here. Let me see the notes here. It says UHS-2 SD TF 4.0 up to 312 megabytes per second. So obviously for SD card readers, that's really, really fast, and they tested really well. And then over here we have a USB-C 10 gigabit per second port in the front as well. So that kind of, those are the full ports in the front. Now if I go to the top of it, it's got these little buttons up here, and I'll show you the close-up of that, but that turns the screen brighter or less bright, so you can go ahead and change the brightness of the screen by using the buttons on the very top. But the back is kind of where the special stuff happens, so let's go to the back. All right, so on the back over here, we have two more USB-A 10 gigabit per second ports. We have the HDMI port, which you can connect, obviously, a device into here to show up on the screen, including your Mac Mini. We have the host port over here, which is going to be 10 gigabit per second host port. Then we have a power port here. So if you want to add additional power to this, you can use this. I believe it says 5 volt, 3 amp USB-C, so it's strictly for bringing in power to the hub in case you have a lot of devices running off of it and you need to actually add power to it. And then we actually have a audio jack here. And what do they say here? They say it's up to 384K, supports 32-bit audio here as well. So really cool. And then finally in the back of it, like I had mentioned, it's got this 10 gigabit per second SSD enclosure, and we'll show you some close-ups of the inside of that. And I went ahead and I tested it with an SN770 from Western Digital, which we'll get into the test in a second. But like I had mentioned, it comes with thermal pads and a whole bunch of stuff here in the box, and you definitely want to make sure that they're in there and it touches the back plate of this, because that's a metal plate back here, and that kind of dissipates the heat away from the SSD. That plate will get a little hot there, but overall, so far, the rest of the system is not getting really hot, so I think it's working really well there. But I just wanted to state that that's where the SSD goes in back there, and that's what makes this super special. It can be up to 8 terabytes in size as well. All right, really quickly, I'm just going to pause this screen here. You can go ahead and take a look at it. This is going to be the hub we just talked about, the 10 gigabit version. Here's all of the ports and all of the information about it. So definitely pause the video if you want to check that out. I'm not going to spend too much time there. But they also do make an 80 gigabit per second version as well of this, which is going to be more money. So if you look over here, we're going to see that it does have the same 5-inch display. Some of the main differences, the front of it's very, very similar here. I think it's almost the same here. But on the back of it, there's some bigger changes here. So obviously we get this 80 gigabit per second Thunderbolt 5 have Enclosure here. This is going to be substantially faster for the SSD, again up to 8 terabytes there. And then basically a couple other differences here is we're going to connect in via Thunderbolt 5. See this right here? So it's got a Thunderbolt 5 port coming in here. That's where you connect your host computer in here. It's also got a little bit stronger power, PD delivery here at 36 watts there, so that's a little bit different as well. And then also the 8K at 60 hertz out of the HDMI port, so it's a little bit stronger there as well. Overall, it's going to be very similar, but it's going to just cost a little bit more. Here's the information on that as well, so go ahead and pause the screen there if you want to see that as well, and then you can compare the two and decide which one's right for you. So now I wanted to test the SSD enclosure in this on the back of it. Now I'm testing the 10 gigabit per second version because that's what they ship me. The Thunderbolt 5 version or 80 gigabit per second version, that's going to come a little bit later. You can still pre-order it, so I don't have that on site. So I'm going to test this one right here. So I did a Blackmagic test of it, and I was able to get 941 on the writes and up to 900 on the reads using that Western Digital SN770 drive in here. So that's actually really impressive for something like this. I mean, those are really good numbers for a 10 gigabit per second enclosure like this, for sure. And it's very, very fast. Now, they're claiming that the 80 gigabit per second version could be up to 7,000 megabytes per second. Keep in mind that realistically, it's probably going to be like 5,000 to 6,000, somewhere in that range is my guess, because we can't test it. But overall, it's going to be substantially faster. But again, you're going to be paying more for that, and it just depends if you need that, or if the novelty for you is actually that screen and the look and feel of this, you might as well go with the cheaper one. All right, next is going to be pricing and availability. So you definitely want to check out the link I have in the description. It's going to take you over to the Kickstarter page over here. And this is where you can kind of pre-order and get them ordered right away. So for the one I have, the 10 gigabit per second version, the one I kind of went over today, it's going to launch at $99. This is the launch special, but you can see the time down here. It's ticking away. So if you missed this special for $99, it's called the launch special. You can go down. It's going to eventually go down to the super early bird special. That's going to be $109, only $9 more. You can see the original cost was $169. So eventually when this goes off Kickstarter, if you're watching this, eventually I'll have an Amazon link in here, and I think the price will be a lot higher. So you definitely want to get into this pre-order here on the 10 gigabit per second. I think these will start shipping in a week or two or something, but it'll take 2 weeks to get with their shipping. So it's going to be a little bit of a wait for this, but not too bad at all. And you can go ahead and kind of pre-order it here, and then obviously get the process started. But what about the 80 gigabit per second Thunderbolt 5 version? So that version also has a launch special over here. You can see it's $199 for that Thunderbolt 5 version. It's usually $389. So you definitely want to get this. This is a pretty big sale, 48% off. So after that's done, let me see if I can get down here. So after that's done, if you missed that, it's going to go up to $209. This is called the super early bird for the 80 gigabit per second. So it's going to go up about $10 again. And then again, this price over here, $389, I'm not sure it'll ever go up to that. It might or may not. That'll be when it gets to Amazon and stuff. But you can see that's a massive price savings there. And you definitely want to make sure you pick it up now and order it. The thing with the 80 gigabit per second version, they had mentioned this. I don't know if it's going to change, but they said it's probably going to start shipping around the beginning of October, and then it takes about 2 weeks to get via the shipping. So just keep that in mind. That version is going to take a little bit longer than the 10 gigabit version. And again, this is perfect just for most people, but if you want that extra speed, you got to pay a little bit more for it. Okay, so we're going to wrap this up. Now, full disclosure, they did send this to me, and I'm just doing a product showcase of it. I can't tell you exactly how this is going to perform even a couple weeks from now, right? But I love the direction that they're going. I love the 1984 look of this thing, and it just brings back smiles to people. People smile when they see it sitting on your desk, and it is fully functional, and that's the thing that's amazing. So it's not just kind of a novelty type gift. You can actually use it for an SSD, for example. You can use it for all the different ports, but that screen on the front is way more useful than you actually think. So I think they nailed it all across the board. Again, I can't give you a quality report on this. I've only had it for a little bit of time. I wanted to introduce it to you. Links in the description. They'll change eventually to Amazon eventually, but right now it's Kickstarter. And we'll talk to you in the next one. I hope you guys love these videos. I love kind of showcasing some of the new tech out there. And this one just caught my eye, to be honest with it. I didn't, they sent it to me. I said, for sure. I looked at the product and I said, I have to do that. It's so cool. And I did it, and I still love it. So we'll talk to you in the next one. I hope you guys liked the video. Peace.